Have you ever wondered, could your smartphone have a moral compass? It sounds a little strange, I know. But today, we're going to connect a 19th century philosophy to all the stuff you buy every day. Let's see how a really old idea can help us reshape our very modern world. I mean, let's be real. Our lives are just filled with sleek gadgets, fast fashion, amazing furniture. Design is literally everywhere. It promises us convenience and status and a way to express ourselves. And honestly, a lot of the time, it delivers. But there's that nagging feeling, right? We're all starting to sense the hidden costs behind all this beauty. The environmental damage, the fact that things are designed to break, all the harm that gets pushed on to someone else, somewhere else. So it really forces us to ask, is there a better way to design our world? To find an answer, we're actually going to look backwards. We're turning to a surprisingly old idea that might just be the compass we need for this very modern problem. So let's dive into utilitarianism. At its heart, it's a really simple but powerful idea. It's called the greatest happiness principle. The core concept is this: the best actions, the right things to do, are the ones that create the greatest amount of good for the greatest number of people. It's not just about your happiness, it's about the total happiness. The philosopher John Stuart Mill summed this up perfectly way back in 1863. For Mill, happiness was pretty straightforward. It was pleasure and the absence of pain. And what this means is that all of our actions carry a kind of moral weight, and they're judged by how they affect everyone's well-being. Now, as you can probably imagine, not everyone was on board with this. A whole philosophy centered on pleasure? To a lot of people, that sounded way too simple, maybe even a little animalistic. Yeah, critics basically scoffed that this was a doctrine worthy only of pigs. They were suggesting it just reduced being human to this simple, brutish search for gratification. They argued we're capable of so much more than just seeking pleasure like an animal. And here's the thing, Mill agreed with them. This is where Mill's argument gets really clever. He made this brilliant distinction. He said, okay, you have your lower pleasures, the simple physical sensations we share with other animals. But then you have higher pleasures. These are the things that engage our minds, our creativity, our feelings, our sense of empathy. So you see, it's not just about how much pleasure you get, it's about what kind of pleasure it is. And this leads to one of the most famous lines in all of philosophy. Think about it. A pig's satisfaction is simple because its needs are simple, but the happiness of a thoughtful, engaged human, even if it's complex, even if it's challenging, is a totally different, higher quality of existence. So, okay, what does a 19th century debate about Socrates and pigs have to do with your laptop or your sneakers? Well, this is where it all comes together. This is where philosophy gets super practical and helps us build a powerful new ethic for design. So much of our design culture today prioritizes everything you see on the left. The quick buzz from a new trend, the convenience of something you can just throw away. A utilitarian approach flips that completely. It shifts the focus from what one person wants right now to what everyone will need in the long term. It asks designers to really think about the consequences of their work for years to come. Now, this absolutely does not mean everything has to be boring and gray. Remember, those higher pleasures Mill was talking about? A utilitarian approach is about what some people call poetic utility. It's about creating things that are not just useful, but also deeply meaningful and beautiful in a way that actually lasts. Like a well-crafted tool that just gets better with age. But of course, designers can't do this all by themselves. This kind of big transformation requires a huge shift in our own thinking as consumers. It's really about moving from a view that's all about our ego to one that's about the whole ecosystem. For decades, consumer culture has trained us all to ask one simple question: what do I want? A utilitarian mindset doesn't get rid of that question. It just adds a second, more profound one. What does the world need? It seems like such a tiny shift in language, but it represents a massive shift in perspective, from just pure personal desire to conscious collective impact. So what does this actually look like in real life? Well, it means choosing a sofa that you can actually fix instead of one that's just trendy for a season. It means valuing a product's tiny carbon footprint more than its novelty. And these aren't sacrifices. They're acts of what you could call expanded joy. The satisfaction comes from knowing your choice contributes to a larger harmony. Okay, so let's bring all this home. What's the main takeaway from thinking this way? It's really about redefining our entire relationship with the material world, with our stuff. Because here's the ultimate point. true, lasting sustainability, it isn't just about using better materials or planting a tree. Now, those things are important, but they're solutions at the end of the line. The real work is upstream. It requires a deep philosophical shift in how we value objects, how we define pleasure, and how we see our own role in the world. And look, this doesn't require perfection, not at all. It just requires a start. It begins with one small, conscious decision. So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. What's one choice you can make today, not just for your own good, but for the greatest good?